Families have authority of a kind because they have known the family member longer and better than most people that have some involvement with the family member with a disability. So their authority derives from firsthand, intimate knowledge of the person's whole life and all kinds of life experiences as the child is raised, becomes an adult, and so on. So that's the basis of why families deserve authority and respect, because they were, key players in the family member's life. And typically, another source of authority derives from the fact that families typically care about the person more than anybody else. And they often love their relative more than would be true of others. And they are expected, more or less, to care more, to have a deeper investment in the family member with a disability. And so with that comes the authority, really, of that comes from their relationship. And they, more than others, may have to live with the long-term consequences of services that don't do a good job or other kinds of interventions besides services, because the families will have to live with whatever happens, and as the person will. But families also have the authority of being expected to advocate vigorously for their family members, to fight to defend their interests and their well-being, in a sense to be their most strong ally, and to, of course, recruit other allies on the person's behalf. So in this sense, families typically have a very strong advocacy role. And families are present, and because they're present, they're witness to all kinds of things that happen in and around the person's life, and so they'd have insights into sort of what the impact of X or Y might have been on the person, because they would have known the person before an event and after an event, and you have a before and after kind of perspective on it. It's not that by saying that they have the authority of being an observer or a presence in a person's life that they are right about everything, but they have the authority that they were present, and that then people that aren't present would have less authority, because they weren't witness to what happened. Now, the natural authority of family does not mean that families are always right or should be, so that's not what it means to have authority. Just like, a prime minister would have authority, but it doesn't mean they're always right, or even that they should be right. And it doesn't mean that families should or could not partner with other parties in the best interests of the person. So, for instance, a parent or a family member could partner with the teacher of the person at school and collaborate, so now they could join forces to create a nice experience for the young person with a disability. And it doesn't mean that other parties cannot be right about or make a significant contribution on any number of issues, and in fact many families would welcome services being useful and professionals being good at what they're doing, and bureaucracies being supportive. The fact that they have their own authority doesn't mean that they're going to use it in a disconnected way from the person's well-being. Now, some of the supports that are really helpful for families would be things like vision building. Vision gives you a sense of your options, gives you a sense of life possibilities, a sense of good and bad in many ways, and a sense of prospects for the family member in terms of what they could do for their life. So vision building would be a great support, as would be exposure to people that have done great things. Other families or services that have broken ground and done something outstanding that would be repeatable with the family member. So again, the vision and then the exposure to good examples empowers the family to kind of begin to press for those kinds of opportunities. Another support is really to be well linked into networks, particularly networks of other family members, or families, I should say, or possibly service innovators, so that you can know about a lot of these things. Isolated families are going to be less effective than families that have links and can reach out to lots of people for resources and ideas and mentoring and things like that. Whereas if people are isolated, they're more vulnerable to when they hit a problem because they've got only their own resources to draw upon. And they may quickly kind of use those up. And that may take the form of formal advice from people, but could also be just informal through networks and contacts, that sort of thing. But good advice and counsel is typically a good resource. But it isn't always the case that authority is respected or even well understood necessarily, even by families themselves. What authority do they have? Again, while they, in a technical sense, have authority, it's quite possible that the impact of that authority might be limited if people don't recognize they have the authority and understand how to use it.